Welcome to this explainer. Look, we need to completely shatter the illusion that building a retrieval augmented generation, or RAG system, is as simple as chaining together a few PDFs, spinning up a local database, and showing off a quick demo. I mean, getting that weekend demo right is surprisingly easy, but getting it right in production, that's an entirely different beast, and that's exactly what we're tackling today.
Here's our roadmap. We are going to transition your mental architecture from a basic local setup to a highly reliable enterprise-grade AI application. We'll start by looking at the reality of production, dive into the nuances of chunking, master the indexing pipeline, ensure zero downtime during updates, and finally, lock down our observability. All right, Section 1, beyond the RAG demo, the production reality. Let's jump right into that painful gap between those shiny tutorials and the real world. You know the feeling, right? The naive demo works perfectly. You ask a question, and the answer looks totally reasonable. But the moment you take that exact same architecture to production, it falls apart in these incredibly quiet, deeply frustrating ways. Your system starts serving up stale information, contradictory data, or flat-out wrong answers with absolute unearned confidence. And honestly, the worst part is that these failures are ridiculously hard to diagnose. So how do we fix this? Well, it starts with a foundational mental shift. We have to stop treating the large language model like a giant, static memory bank. Instead, we need to treat it as a dynamic reasoning engine. We are literally telling the model, hey, do not rely on what you memorized during training. Instead, reason exclusively over the context I am providing you right now. This is the architectural choice that makes RAG the absolute dominant pattern for grounding AI in proprietary knowledge. And this brings us to how the query pipeline actually finds that context. At query time, your user's question gets converted into a dense vector embedding. The math running the retrieval step is cosine similarity, which just means two vectors are considered semantically close if the angle between them in a high-dimensional space is small. Now, in practice, scanning billions of vectors and doing exact math on the fly is way too slow, so production databases use approximate nearest neighbor searches, building these layered proximity graphs to fetch relevant context in milliseconds. Moving on to Section 2, the art of chunking, specificity versus completeness. This is basically our first major failure point.
So the naive approach everyone starts with is fixed-size chunking. Just blindly cutting the text every 500 tokens. But doing that routinely chops sentences in half or separates a crucial question from its answer. Production systems absolutely require dedicated strategies. You've got recursive splitting, which breaks things down logically from paragraphs down to sentences. Then there's semantic chunking, which is fascinating. It actually embeds consecutive sentences and only splits the chunk when the cosine similarity drops, meaning it detects genuine shifts in topic. And for highly specific formats, we use structure-aware splitting. Think parsing abstract syntax trees for code or cutting strictly at clause boundaries for legal contracts. It's all about preserving genuine meaning.
Section 3, mastering the indexing pipeline. Handling change. Listen, this is where most tutorials stop and where your production nightmares actually begin. Here's the reality check. Your knowledge base is not static. Documents are constantly getting updated, corrected, or deleted. If a document was originally split into 15 chunks, well, you have 15 separate vectors. When that document gets updated, you can't just casually update a single row in a database. You have to use a document registry mapping layer to identify all 15 of those old chunk IDs, explicitly delete them from the vector store, re-chunk the entire updated document, and only then re-embed and insert the new chunks. If you skip any of these steps, your system is just going to serve overlapping, contradictory garbage. Just think about the number 1 million for a second. If you have a 100,000 document corpus with an average of 10 chunks each, a full rebuild requires 1 million expensive API calls to your embedding model. This is exactly why you cannot just lazily re-embed everything every single night. You absolutely must use content hashing. When a document arrives, you hash its content. If the hash matches your registry, you skip it. A lot of updates are just minor metadata tweaks anyway. So hashing acts as this vital gatekeeper that saves you massive amounts of compute and, frankly, a lot of money.
Okay, Section 4, zero downtime updates, safety and model lock. What exactly happens when we need to update our index or upgrade our AI models while users are actually using the system? The absolute most underappreciated failure mode in RAG is the partial update. Imagine you're reindexing 10,000 documents and the pipeline just crashes halfway through. Great. Now your retrieval layer is searching a broken, invisible seam of old and new data.
To fix this, we borrow a brilliant concept from Elasticsearch called alias-based deployments. Basically, you build the new index entirely in the background, you validate it, and then instantly atomically swap the alias pointer. Your users never experience a second of downtime, and more importantly, no query ever hits a partial index. Now, picking an embedding model like these top mid-2026 options requires some serious upfront thought. You've got OpenAI's Text Embedding 3 Large for fantastic general recall, Cohere's Embed v3 for strong multilingual needs, Bai's model if you want an open-source local deployment, or Mistral's instruction-tuned model for asymmetric retrieval. You have to pick carefully because your choice dictates the geometry of your entire vector space. And why is that choice so critical? 2 words: model lock. If you ever switch from model A to model B, every single vector in your index becomes instantly obsolete. They are geometrically incommensurable. You just cannot query with a new model and retrieve vectors made by an old one. You need to treat changing your embedding model exactly like a massive database schema migration. You have to build a complete shadow index, run it in parallel, and gradually shift your traffic over using that alias pattern we just talked about. Otherwise, you're looking at silent model drift. Finally, Section 5, Observability and Retrieval Tracing, knowing the why. Honestly, this is arguably the most important section for your sanity as an engineer. We've all hit the absolute peak of frustration. A user files a ticket saying the RAG system gave them a confidently wrong answer. Your first thought has to be, why did the system retrieve that specific chunk? That is the exact question you must be able to answer immediately when things fail in production. Let me tell you, a generic, "the system broke" log is completely useless here.
And that brings us to the core philosophy of RAG debugging. Our source material lays down this incredible insight. In production, what looks like an LLM hallucination is almost always a retrieval failure. Think about it. The LLM actually did its job perfectly. It reasoned over the context it was given. But your pipeline handed it the wrong context. This is exactly why end-to-end tracing that captures the entire retrieval span isn't just nice to have. It is absolutely mandatory.
So how do we automate this and actually close the feedback loop? Enter the lightweight LLM as a judge. Instead of manually reviewing thousands of logs, after your main model generates an answer, you asynchronously shoot the question, the retrieved context, and the final answer over to a smaller, cheaper model. You ask it to score 2 specific things: faithfulness, did the answer actually stay within the retrieved context, and relevance. Then you just log those scores directly to your trace ID. Once you're armed with those scores and chunk-level attribution in your traces, it's like having a superpower. You can instantly categorize any failure into one of 3 specific buckets. Bucket 1, did it retrieve chunks from the wrong document? Okay, that means you have index corruption or model drift. Bucket 2, did it get the right document but totally the wrong section? That's a chunking boundary issue. Your splitting logic needs work. Or bucket 3, was the retrieved context perfectly correct but the LLM just decided to ignore it? Only then do you have an actual generation issue. Without this granular level of tracing, every bad answer just looks exactly the same.
Let's bring it all together. To summarize our explainer today, if you want to build a system that won't fall apart quietly, you have to implement these 3 non-negotiable engineering pillars. First, a robust indexing pipeline featuring a document registry, hashing, and zero-downtime alias deployments. Second, a high-accuracy retrieval layer, which usually means utilizing hybrid search and cross-encoder re-ranking. And third, deep observability with chunk-level attribution, linked directly to your answer quality.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Think about your current pipelines right now, go check your chunking strategies, look closely at your update mechanisms, and ask yourself, is your staging environment hiding silent failures that are absolutely going to bite you in production? It's time to move beyond the demo. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.